All right, so we're here, Blue Collar Startup. We're here with Bryan Berry,
Yes.
Color Code Painting. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
And
Glad to be here.
yeah, and Derek Foster
Hey everybody.
joining us on camera in the room.
Finally I made it.
I know.
With my seat right up here now.
That's it.
Getting comfortable.
And of course, I'm Mike Nelson. Again, thanks for coming. Excited to hear more about your business, how you got started. I figure let's maybe help the viewers, help the listeners learn a bit more about you and your business. So just give us a quick rundown on your business. Is it just you? Do you have employees? You know, where are you at business wise?
All right. So Color Code Painting, we have right now about 14 employees, give or take a couple, between cleaning and painting.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of commercial properties, homes, contracts of that sort. And also, what I usually do with my painting is I'll follow it with cleaners. It just made sense for me one year. So I just decided to start doing that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So 14 employees. How long have you been in business?
We've been in business since 2012.
2012.
2012.
10 years.
10 years.
Nice.
Yep.
How's that feel?
Man, it feels good. I know first starting out, I knew that there's a business curve. I knew it was a 3-year and a 5-year curve. 3 years is like you're just getting almost to the hill. But 5 years, usually in business, once you get past 5 years, that phone will still ring. Well, for me, it just happened pretty fast. I just got opportunity, right? I'm always there to for my next business opportunity. I made myself always available, so that's how we got to where we're at now.
Nice. It's interesting because I feel like I feel that I made myself always available. So because I think you probably feel the same way.
You never
right?
turn it off.
Yeah.
Once you get going.
Yeah, I know. Like I'm just, especially in the beginning, it's just like it could be 10 o'clock at night. I'm taking your call, and I'm just as happy to hear from you at 10 o'clock at night as I was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
When you first started.
Well, yeah. Now I'm just like, oh my god, man. But
right.
But in the beginning, when you're on the hustle and you're on the grind, it's just like oh my god, someone's calling me. Like hell yeah, no, don't. Well, I was sleeping, but don't even worry about it. Or I was eating dinner, but that's not important. How can I help you?
Exactly.
So yeah.
Part of that is you just got to be hungry. I mean, in starting business or anything that you're trying to do, even education or whatever it is you're trying to do career-wise, you got to want it. You got to believe in yourself enough when everybody else is naysaying around you, and you just got to want it that bad that you could grab it, that you could feel it, that you could touch it, and you got to go for it. So, and that's kind of where I was. It was just a force that just pushed me along, and I was always made the right opportunity. I got lucky, I could say, but I didn't get lucky. I placed myself there.
Well,
by just always being available.
Someone said this to me years ago, and I think about this. Probably every day I repeat this in my mind, is that luck is preparation meeting opportunity, and that you create your own luck. Right, so you prepare and you be ready, and then you create opportunities for yourself. Like that's where that's when people say, "Oh, they're lucky," and they got no, they were ready and they made that opportunity, so that when the opportunity was there or they created it, they were prepared. Like
absolutely, and sometimes as you're growing your business, you don't see it that way in the midst of it because your head's still in the bushes. How many times have you? People congratulating on how well you're doing, but you don't see it yourself because you didn't even take that time to acknowledge your progress. You know what I mean? I've denied myself that opportunity numerous times over the years because I didn't want to get comfortable or complacent with where I'm at. I just thought, hey man, you're doing good. Take your time. Now I want to do better. I want more. How much more do you want? I want more. I don't know what that more is, but I have my full then. So you don't see that. Sometimes you look at it as luck. It's not, but it's not till you step out of that element and able to pick your head out of the bushes and see and look back at your back trail at all your accomplishments, and it's like, wow, I really prepared myself to be right here for these opportunities. So
yeah, and it's one of those things. Like for me, I would always say, the harder you work, the luckier you get, and it kind of picks you up on those hard days. I don't know I'm sure you've been there, Brian. Like you have a rough day, it's been a long day, and then something good happens at the end of it. You get that phone call for a job you've been waiting on, you land it. And I think a common theme amongst everybody that we've had on so far is hard work has always been in the equation, and there's no substitute for it. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's none.
I've been saying recently, my big thing is you got to pay for the party.
Yeah.
And sometimes you pay before the party happens, or sometimes you pay after the party. Like you go out and party real hard, drink with your friends. Well, you're gonna pay for the party the next day with a nice hangover.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna have a bunch of great things that happen in your business. Well, you're probably gonna pay for those up front with hard work and hustle and all the fun stuff.
But later on, that's that sacrifice hopefully is well deserved.
Yeah.
When you're able to sit back and look at what you've accomplished. So.
Absolutely.
Do you ever sit back, Bryan, and say, "Oh, wow, I accomplished a lot"?
Recently, it's been about I've been in business 10 years, so it's been like the last 2 years that I really was like, man. It started being when people would actually Albany Business Review have done a few articles on me.
Nice.
Times Union has done articles on me. I've received awards from the Senate. I've received something called Renaissance, which is a local non-for-profit, and they honor people that actually work hard and help the community. It was going through those things, and I was like, man, now I start seeing what other people are seeing. But before, I was just trying to make it, and not only just for myself. I'm a big team person too, so it was like, as a business owner, the people that work for you become, not your kids, but your responsibility. You know what I mean? They work for you, but you actually, in turn, you work for them at the end of the day, So it wasn't until I started seeing that stuff happening, and, my sister, who's actually like a great person to have behind me, was always like, hey, man, you got to take a look at this. Like, look what you've done. And that's when I started seeing, like, wow, like I'm doing all right. You know what I mean? I could slow down just a little bit, but not a lot. So I don't want to get complacent. I don't want to be okay with just where I'm at right now.
Well, after running that hard for 10 years, it's kind of ingrained in you anyway. So even if you take your foot off the gas pedal, I don't think you're
it's there.
down.
Yeah,
it's there. It's always
I can't.
there.
Yeah, I'm not.
You get bored.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm a 3:30, 4:30 in the morning guy. When I wake up, I'm just up and I start doing work. So it's rare that I'll sleep even on a weekend past 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm feeling guilty, like I got to do something. So you're right. It is there. Yeah. It is there.
Sleeping late for me right now is 5:30 a.m.
Right.
I was laughing about that the other day. I slept in the other day and got up at 5:30. I was just like, oh, I felt great, man.
Right, you got that 6 hours of sleep rather than the usual 5.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when you're on the farm, you got other things you got to attend to.
Oh man, pigs
Right.
and chickens and So let's back up and give us the rundown. I mean, obviously you didn't just wake up one day and have a business with 14 people. How'd you get started?
Slow process. So a buddy of mine actually owns Collar City Painting. His name's Eddie McAvoy. Good friend of mine. We've all worked background together doing asbestos work where he would run the jobs and I'd be like the inside foreman. A lot of the things that he did, you gotta have somebody to mirror. You gotta have somebody that you could look up to, or that you want to. Everybody needs that somebody that you look up to. Just model that and go for it. So he's the owner of the company at the time, doing asbestos is like demo work. Well, they took everything down. Now they're gonna start building it up. So the guy kind of turned into a GC and was like, somebody got to paint this. Eddie, open up a paint company. So Eddie opened up a paint company, but that side work that Eddie was doing, plus the stuff that he was getting from this guy that started him out, wound up, taking over everything. So he could no longer work for him. Started doing the painting, and he took me right with him. I started running his crews. I had little or no paint experience. I mean, some of the painters, these guys, they had patience with me. One thing I knew how to do was manage systems. I'm good with systems as far as time. How long does it take to get this done? What can we do to reduce this time? And I assess people pretty good. I don't think I was taught to do that. It's just more natural. I assess people where they're great at and put them towards their strengths. And it was working for Eddie that I realized, like, man, this is easy. And I sat back and I looked at my family, and at the time, man, I just came home from prison. Let's just say that. I was sitting in jail for a double homicide. These two people I didn't even know. Eventually, the truth came out, I guess, and DNA evidence came and exonerated me. Got home and was just looking around at my living conditions with two of my children. I was a single father, and I was getting public assistance to help pay the bills, and I knew I wanted more. I knew this wasn't going to make it for me at $15 an hour. So I sat down with my children and was like, look, I need to open up my own business. I want to buy a house. I need more for us. And, they were like, okay, Dad. Because I had to explain that to them, because there was going to be sacrifices. There wasn't going to be the regular check coming in. It was going to be times where, you guys eat, I'm good. And then we had those times, but, we worked it out together. And little by little, I just pushed side work. This is after hours.
Sure.
And, as we had spoke about earlier, I don't think it was you or somebody else I spoke to earlier, but I did that until my side work got in the way of my regular work. Once that happened, I had to make a choice: either decrease the side work or go ahead and make that my day job. And I made that jump from there.
And so obviously with Eddie, you said, right?
Yeah.
You sat him down, told him what your plans were?
Absolutely.
Tell me about that, because I think that's an important, because I think a lot of people, there's a right way and a wrong way to do things, right? And I think that a lot of people are going to come in that situation where they're going to have to, make a decision. Do I talk to my current employer and have that conversation with them about what I'd like to do, especially because you're kind of becoming a competitor, is it, right?
Absolutely.
Or do I just do it and give this guy the middle finger, and then, and because I really see that attitude a lot as well, where it's like, oh, I got to make my money, I got to do what I got to do. And it's like, well, yeah, but, there's a couple ways. So tell me about that conversation with Eddie.
Well, obviously he weighed on me a lot. He needed me around to take care of a lot of the things, footwork that he couldn't do, which has always been our relationship. But I'd left from him. I didn't even start my business directly under him. I was 2 companies beyond him already by the time I started my business.
Okay.
But what I did with him, though, because I wanted to learn all aspects of painting, not just, he was doing a lot of exterior work, beautiful exterior work and stuff like that. Well, I wanted to learn the commercial side of things. I wanted to learn interior stuff, high-end stuff. So he pointed me in the right direction. I got with another company, and this company was run by Scott O'Connell, called The Finishers. They did taping and painting and framing and other things like that. Well, I went from using a 9-inch roller to using an 18-inch roller on commercial space. And, the first time I did that, I put the roller to the wall. I didn't know how to use it. It was brand new. I had to learn this thing all over again. And I'm going to get back to your question. But I learned what I could from Scott, and then went to a high-end company and worked with Jeff Snyder with Snyder Painting. And these guys do a lot of high-end residential properties and stuff like that. That's where I learned to slow my painting down, take my time, because every step that I went, and every company I went to learn something different, I thought I learned everything then, and I went to the next company like, I got this, don't worry. But I always learned something different. So you can never not stop learning. You always got to learn. When you stop learning, you're dead. You know what I mean? And as a businessman, you know what I mean? Once you feel like you know it all, you're not going to do too well. There's always something new that you can learn. So I learned all the proper steps going that way. And with each of them people that I worked for, they knew what my inspiration was. They knew I wanted to have my own company. So they would sit me down, talk to me about pricing, talk to me about, they would show me different things on a job, like quality or what they're looking for. They'd let me live in their mind for a little while. That's important. Now it could bite you in the butt, because you can go and tell your boss, hey, I want to start my own company, and right away he's going to look at you like competition.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't need you around here no more. Get out of here. Because before you take some of his guys and some of his business with him, which is usually what happens. Scott with the finishers told me, he was like, he told me, you always train your competition.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody here that's done work, you're doing your own thing. Well, you had to work for somebody, unless you went to school and just went out and started your own business or whatever. But you had to work for somebody. You had to learn something as in what you're doing at the moment. So I had to learn from somebody. And I just was humble enough to do that. And I was fortunate that they weren't the type of owners or bosses that, felt some sort of bad way about that, where they wanted to get rid of me. I think they saw that I was hungry enough, and that I'd actually succeed. And we've actually been able to turn around each of them and do work together, one way or another. So I think the benefit of honestly being honest about what you want when you're getting hired, or at some point in the middle of you working and you have this epiphany that this is what you want to do. Talk to the people that you want to learn from. This is what you want to do. Well, you got to learn from somebody. These people already put in years of work. They've had plenty of mistakes. You got to make your own, but they've had plenty of mistakes that you could avoid just by listening, if they're willing to talk to you. So I mean, that's the route I went.
Nice. I gotta ask, man, because I don't know how I cannot ask, but so you got put in prison, and that for something you didn't do?
Absolutely.
How long did you sit there, man?
7 years.
Holy shit.
7 years. 7 years, man.
That is crazy.
7 years.
When you said that, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I don't know if that's even relevant to the podcast, but still, man.
It is, and it isn't. It is in a way that, because there's people like me with my background that want to find a way, and because of their criminal background, they're not gonna have that avenue of employment because they might be frowned upon. Could you imagine me putting, incarceration for what? And then putting that down on the application? You think they want me in their house? You want to send me to somebody's house or something like that? You know what I mean? Just because it's not true, it didn't happen.
Right.
But arrest-wise, it did.
But still, yeah.
You know what I mean? Criminal history. I've lost contracts because of not knowing that I had to disclose within 5 years of finishing my supervised release. I thought it was 5 years from sentencing. I've lost jobs where they were like, you didn't notify us that you had a felon for murder and da-da-da-da. This is the big write-up that they would send to all these construction administrators within that company because I didn't disclose that I had this thing in my background. So I've lost work because of that. You know what I mean? So it's not always easy. There's plenty of people that actually come home and they want to do right, but they don't have an avenue to do right.
Yeah.
They want to make money. They want to provide for their family, but they don't have the avenue. I mean, McDonald's ain't the way, man. $13 an hour. What can you do if you have one child, let alone 2 kids, to take care of even your own self at $13 an hour? What's that? $300 a week if you worked a 40-hour week? What can you do with that? So there's plenty of people, when you're talking about blue collar work and when you're talking about startups and stuff, there's plenty of people that actually have that wall, and you hear it over and over again, man. Like, my felonies, my this, my that. I can't get a job because of this, or they pass me up on promotion because of this, where it works against them.
Yeah.
I sidestep that. In construction, obviously, we're more liberal. There are people with some pretty bad backgrounds. There's people with good backgrounds. You might have a guy that has a master's in, I don't know, sending spaceships to the moon, but he's running a job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you get all avenues of people on these jobs, and we don't look at that in that way in construction. I think it's a little bit more easier for felons and stuff to get in and find a way. So
Can I ask, like, mentally how you deal with being in prison for 7 years for something you know you didn't do? Like,
you damn sure don't tell everybody you didn't do it, because everybody's gonna say, yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah, we heard
Everybody
that.
says that, right?
Yeah, everybody's innocent here. You know what I mean? It's spiritual. It's a spiritual journey. For myself too, it was a growing curve. I knew that I didn't have anything to do with this. I didn't know these people, and I knew that there were people out there that were trying to get out and using my name to get out. You know, I just didn't get pulled off the street like, hey, we're taking you and we're gonna put murder in. I was doing things that was messed up. You know, I was doing armed robberies, but not on businesses. I was doing them on drug dealers. You know what I mean? So we would do a $10,000 or $50,000 hit, you know, and sit back for a month and then go do it again, things like that. But I didn't know that you could be prosecuted for it. You know, I thought that was a safe way to make money without going to jail. Then it wasn't. Big lesson learned, but.
So what do you take out of that? Like, as you,
let me get there. Is just in my mind, what did I have to go through to be able to make it through that? Is I knew that I wasn't there for that. It had to be something else, and that's when the spiritual journey began. Is I just had to walk every day, and I did a lot of self-improvement. I did a lot of read a lot of literature on Eastern philosophy. And just stayed out of the way. Definitely did a lot of working on my case. My attorney was offered me a job as a paralegal. I was down in, they had me in a county jail for like 2 years, and I was sending people home, writing writs and habeas corpuses and stuff. I'm sending them home. And the DA at that county was like, whoever you got down there in the law library, get them out of there. Because I was getting people out. You know, I just was like, this was my mind. You know, you could do anything that you put your mind to.
Yeah.
Well, I became a lawyer then, you know, and my lawyer's like, listen, I'll give you a job when you come home. You just got a natural knack for this stuff. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do that because I don't like to be in the same place every day. Mm-hmm. But it was definitely growing inside. And knowing that I wouldn't be in there forever. My mom used to come visit me crying, like, what's going on? And I'm like, Ma, I don't know. I just can tell you that I don't know when I'm coming home, but I know I'm not going to be in forever. I know I'm not going to be here forever. But spiritually, I had to accept what I was going through. And then I had to tell myself, well, maybe there was people here that I needed to meet and talk to and drop some stuff off to. And maybe there's some people here that I needed to get some stuff from. And I think I got all of that.
Nice. Well, I appreciate sharing that with us,
absolutely.
man. I know it's a little personal, but I also know that like in all adversity and challenges, there's always lessons and things that can come out of that. And you know, again, that's crazy. I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but at the same time, like,
I'm not. You know, yeah. I mean, if I could go do it over again, no, I'm not going to sign up and say, hey, put me through that situation again.
Yeah.
You know, but on the back end of that, you know what I mean. When we're talking about character and everything else. Well, before my arrest, I was working. Mm-hmm. You know, I was working. I was working, doing asbestos work, doing all right. What are we getting? Like $26, $29 an hour. I was doing all right. I was thinking about finding a job where I could get a 401k and retirement. And they just took me. That was it. But what it did was it added another edge to me. It actually, you know, having all that time away. It's something that we don't get out here in society, right? We don't get that time to sit, think, plot, plan, rethink our lives, think about your mistakes, recreate that. Well, let me try this different. Let me speak to this guy this way and do this 60 times, and maybe I can develop that and change what I'm doing in addressing people. So, you know, people don't get that. You talk about going to college and student loans and all of this stuff. Well, I learned inside for free, in a sense. I mean, I had to pay with my time. I paid with the time away from my kids. I mean, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but I made the best of it. Mm-hmm. I made the best. Talking about taking a bad situation and making it good. That's what I did.
Yeah, it's a lot of resilience.
Yeah.
You know, just keep moving. Yeah.
Definitely. And that relates to business. That relates to figuring stuff out. You know, you're on a job, you got a problem that you can't figure it out. Well, this is the problem, how do I fix it? You know, rather than just looking at the problem as a big hill and focusing on the hill, well, how do I get over this hill? How do I get around it, over it, under it? What am I going to do? So, and I think that's what that brings to the table for me.
So, speaking of that, what do you think, in 10 years in business, what do you think the biggest challenge you ever came across was?
Employees.
Yeah.
Employees. The biggest, I'd say myself.
Okay.
Myself. You gotta push. You gotta always keep going. I could be my biggest asset or my biggest liability. And I think finding the things that I can contribute with work, but when I don't do that, everything goes bad. You know what I mean? When I let my foot off the gas just a little bit, it'll go bad. But back to the employee part, I mean, you're dealing with other people. You're relying on other people to carry on your name, your product, do the work your way. That's not easy. That's not easy because not everybody cares about what they do like you do. And I think what separated me when I was working for somebody else's, the work that I touched, I treated it as my own. I just saw myself owning a paint company one day. So whenever my boss would send me off to do a paint job, I treated it as my own mini job. He didn't have to call me about nothing. I didn't call him for anything. I just got it done and on to the next one. So, but not everybody thinks like that. You got people that want to work to do good work, but then you got people that just want to work and make money. But I want the person that wants to do good work.
Well, it's good for anybody that's out there that's in a position, in a blue collar industry already. I mean, it's the best education going. You get to make mistakes and fail on somebody else's dime.
Somebody else's dime.
That's someone else's reputation.
It's a good deal, but a lot of people don't take advantage of that and actually learn how to do it and care for it.
Yeah.
So.
And I tell my guys that, I'm like, you guys you want to do your side work, you want to do this, you want to do that, but this is your bread and butter. This is your everyday, this check is coming in, this is your 40 hours a week, this is guaranteed money right here. You want to own your own business and stuff. I said, this is the best place to learn right here. Make your mistakes here, but own it while you're doing it. Own it while you're doing it. So.
Yeah. What about biggest mistake you ever made?
That could go a lot of different ways, man.
in business.
The biggest mistake I ever made in business, I think allowing somebody else to dictate my work. So partnering up with a firm and relying only on that one firm, well, slowly but surely you start realizing that you need to have other sources of income coming in from other people, because if you're just relying off of the one builder, the one whoever to give you work, well, they're telling you what you're gonna do now. They're telling you how much they're gonna pay you. So when I started out, I did a whole lot of relying on, but eventually I started finding other avenues to make money and free myself from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we had God, it must have been 6 years ago, we had 90% of our revenue was in 3 clients. And we lost 2 of them.
That hurts.
Oh man, I remember getting the phone call from number 2 and they were nice and stuff, and we were a small firm and their needs were growing and they needed a bigger firm. So it wasn't like we were doing a bad job. It was just they were outgrowing our ability to handle them. And they called me and was like, yeah, we're gonna go with this firm. They just have a bigger creative department. That's what we need right now. And I was like, oh, okay, I understand. Trying to keep my shit together, and I hung up the phone, and I sat down. I was like, oh man, I'm so screwed. And then I think it was a good 90 days. I was eating cat food and crackers while I was trying to sell like crazy to get because I got employees, didn't want to have to let anybody go or let anybody off, and all the eggs in one basket, as they say, I guess.
You can't do that.
You can't
do that. And then another thing, when you're talking about employees, well, keep in mind what your cash flow is. Well, if you're watching your books and you know how much you're spending every week, and you see that your income is less than what you need to get through the month, then you gotta, as much as you want to be true to your employees, the only way you could do that is if you're taking it out of your own money. Mm-hmm. Well, the thing about business is you didn't get into business to lose. you know, to lose money or to give up anything on your end. You did it to gain. So you also have to, you know, have a cool balance on that too, because for some time I was working one project, man, about 4 years ago, and I had probably 22 guys, 23 guys going. And when it would slow down, I wanted to keep them working.
Mm-hmm.
But that came out of my money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I stopped doing that because slowly my savings was going away too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick commercial break.
Cool.
This episode of Blue Collar Startup is brought to you by Daigle Cleaning Systems and DCS Franchising. Launch your blue collar startup with a proven system like Daigle Cleaning Systems. This episode is also brought to you by Spa City Digital. Take your blue collar business to the next level with Spa City Digital, making marketing easier. Special thanks to our guest today, Bryan Berry from Color Code Painting. And now, back to the interview.
Hit on next. You got any like routines, Bryan, that you do every day? Anything out of the ordinary? To stay, you know, focused.
Nothing out of the
relaxed.
ordinary. What I do pretty much every day. Usually the night before, I write something. I write a list down of things I need to accomplish that day. I keep it in my truck. It's my to-do list. It's like a little 4x4 notebook, and I write stuff in there that need to get done. Next page, I'll take it and, you know, for instance, for tomorrow, when I go to bed tonight, I'll sit down and write everything that I wanted to get accomplished for tomorrow, and that'll be on my tomorrow's task. So first thing usually after getting up, you know, having my little quiet time is computer work. I go down to the office, do my stuff, and then sometimes I'll try to beat the guys at work. I'll be there about 6:30. Try to beat them into work, see who's straggling and stuff by 7. But other times I like to, you know, have a casual morning, stay on the computer till about 9, 10. Then I'm making my phone calls, and then I'll start my rounds, checking the jobs and stuff like that. Try to make it back home by 3 o'clock because I don't like traffic. I'm very impatient and stuff. And anybody that stays up this way with the Northway traffic, man, I'll give it to you. Because I would literally, when I stayed up here, you know, Clifton Park for some time, and I would either leave early or just stay late and miss the traffic. But that's usually my normal routine. It's just day to day is that, and then usually by the time I get home, my phone's going off, shutting it down. I mean, you're taking phone calls all day. Remember before we were saying, you know, always there for that phone. Well, I don't want to talk about work after 6:30, so my phone actually just shuts off on its own. It just shuts off. It shuts everything off.
You show me where that button is on my phone.
There's actually a do not disturb button.
Yeah.
You get to, you know, once you hit that do not disturb,
Yeah.
it'll you put your time settings in.
Yeah.
So I won't get another chime or ring
That's
until
awesome.
6:30 in the morning from my phone.
That's
know?
nice.
Yeah.
I should really consider doing that.
You gotta shut off.
I just
You gotta shut off.
Mine's at 9 o'clock, so I
9
might just
o'clock.
make it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, you might want to bet. You gotta. So you have to have time. You got a family. Even for your own self, you need to have that shutdown time, man. Because you could get so burnt out from always running, always being on the go, and you don't even realize that you're burnt out, but you just start doing things differently, and people will be like, "Hey, what's wrong?" And you don't even know that it's you know.
Yeah.
At one point, I was just always on all cylinders, and it wasn't until a cousin passed away that I realized, like, I was like, I gotta go to the funeral, but it's gonna be down in Georgia. I'm in New York. I'm gonna have to be gone for a week. There's a funeral. What about my business? This is my baby. I gotta leave it with these guys. I've never done that before. And it wasn't until that tragedy that I realized, like, okay, it's still running when I got back. They were able to manage it, you know what I mean? And that's when I started actually giving myself time after that and sometimes shutting off for a day. I mean, you do a lot of hard cerebral work. As a business owner, you're trying to push for the next thing. You're thinking about your employees. You're thinking about your income, payroll, your own personal stuff. Well, you got to shut down too. If you don't do that, man, you're just going to eat yourself up.
Yeah.
It's going to affect you some way.
I know. I always can tell because I start losing excitement about stuff.
Yeah.
Where I like normal stuff I normally get excited about, like whether it's a shoot or this or that, and then I'm just like when I'm starting to get burnt out a little bit, I'm just like, I don't want to do any of it, man.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and when I hear myself think that way, I'm like, all right, you gotta you got to do something right now, because being burnt out and not wanting to do your job as a business owner, and like you said, you have 14 families that are relying on you being in business and you being excited about what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So
but it also goes to show too, when you empower the people that you have, and you're trusting to do the work for you, you really find out who's there, who's going to
step up.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And
I
somebody
had
does.
that same experience.
right? And somebody does. I
Yeah.
mean, there's usually somebody that's on your team.
But they'll try if they don't know how.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's the one you want to stick with. You do, so what I do now is quarterly. I'll take a week off. Quarterly, I shut down. Once a year, I also do a business review. And I ask myself questions. I wish I would have brought it with me, but how did you do this year? How do you feel you did this year? Did you reach your goals? Well, because I set goals the prior year in this, little self-development thing, or self-planning. Well, because I set goals, I have something that I could go back to and look at. Even sometimes in the middle of the year, I'll pull it out like, man, let me get back on track. Because there is things that I actually sit down at the beginning of the year and think out, and I plot out where I want to be. What do I want to accomplish? Where's my business at? What are the people in my business that are standing out? What are the ones I need to let go of? What are the people that I have partnerships with? What contractors do I want to keep? What contracts do I want to let go of? So I'm thinking about all that stuff, and those 4 times a year, that's a whole week I'm shut down. Usually I'm thinking about that, or just having just an R&R, not thinking about anything at all. But I definitely will look at that paper in the course of a year, probably sometimes monthly.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I've even looked at it weekly or daily just to give myself that pick-me-up. Like, this is where you got to be. Coming off of those little quarterly vacations, I feel fresh. I'm ready to tackle, and I know I have another one coming up. So I just try to go all out until then.
Did you develop that? How long did it take you to realize that and develop that? Because that's a great tactic, and I might even steal that from you.
Well,
but
which one?
I mean, just in general, taking a week quarterly, and then at the end of the year doing a review.
So my sister, who I've mentioned a few times already, she's bigwig. She's an underwriter for surety bonds in construction.
Okay.
So she deals with a lot of the owners we work with.
Yeah.
She knows them all. And she has a master's. She knows what these guys are doing for themselves, and she shares that with me. Hey, why don't you do this? Or, hey, you got to give yourself a break. She's the one that actually encouraged me. We're going to go up here to Saratoga Hotel and get a room for a night. And actually, we did a whole weekend, actually, the first time. And it was just that, planning my business, having conversations about, my past accomplishments, things that I wanted. Like, she's the one that actually brought that to fruition.
Did she take part in that week with you and help you plan for the following year? Or
she'll do the 2-3 day spurts, but she's the one that actually encouraged me to take more vacations, just so I don't get burnt out. Because you're right, you lose interest.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, I don't want to go down to the job. You know what I'm saying? We got this job running. I don't want to run materials down there. You do it. Well, now you got somebody that don't really know what you put into it running your product for you. Well, you tell me how that's going to turn out. Yeah. So she actually encouraged me to do that, and still does to this day.
Yeah. I think that time to refresh and get excited. And it's actually one of my indicators right now of I need to train somebody up in this role and take it off my plate is that emotion as well. And I've noticed that in a couple different things where I start seeing myself doing a crappy job on something, and I don't want crappy job. I want amazing, brilliant work coming out of this company. And if I'm starting to become a problem, and I'm like, all right, well, if that was an employee and they were having that attitude about that, what would I do, right? And I'm like, well, I'd either coach them up or get them out. Like, well, it's the only, I can either help them fix the problem or they got to leave. And so now I'm just like, all right, I basically got to fire myself in that role. Because I've just been doing it so much for 10 years, and I'm just not excited about it anymore.
Right.
So I gotta do something. So
yeah, review is everything. Review is important, man. You gotta, the past is important. So you gotta know where you were, what you wanted and see if you've actually been able to touch that. And I think that's what the important part of that yearly review is.
Yeah.
It's just doing that. As far as the the quarterly getaways, that's more like me resting.
Mhm.
But in that time, I'm also just reinforcing the things that I spoke about at the beginning of the year to see if I could do anything to get it back on track.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it helps. It helps a lot, actually. Yeah, I think I skipped it one year and I saw the difference. I really did. I literally saw the difference. Like
How far in before you started implementing that?
Year 6.
Okay.
So
Took you a
we're at 10 now, right? It was year 6 or 5, and I think it was year 7. I didn't do it, and then I just found myself floating. I just wake up in the morning and what am I gonna do today? I floated. I just had no goal, no nothing, and it showed.
Yeah.
And it showed.
I do. I'd say I'm not religious about it, but most times I do my yearly plan and I do a quarterly check-in. I like the idea of taking a week off and doing it, right? Like that sounds amazing.
Got to.
And one thing I know is I can always tell when I'm getting close to the end of the quarter because of what you just said, is that floating. Like I feel a little lost, and that's always like I need to get re in touch with my plan and look at my numbers and see where we are. And because if I'm behind, I need to reinvigorate myself to get on track. But yeah, it's that quarterly check-in with where you're at and how you're doing. It's
Definitely
huge,
is important, man. And I mean, do it early. Do it when your business is just you.
Mm-hmm.
Do it then. That way, when you grow, it just becomes an arm of you, another extension of what you do, a habit.
Yeah.
It's easy to, even with me, my sister again, my ace in the hole. I was a house painter, man. She's this big wig exec, and hey, you got to do this, or why don't you set it up like this? And I'm like, get out of here, man. I'm just painting houses. It's cash. I don't need that. I don't need this. And she needed something from me one time where I needed a loan for a car. I went to the bank and they're like, you got all cash, buddy? I had like $100,000 in the bank, and I was like, I can't get a car loan. And they're like, no, you can pay for it with your own money.
Right.
You know what I mean? I had nothing. So she actually got me where I needed to be. I don't know, corporate wise, she got me set up where I needed to be, so that way it's manageable. It didn't I'm not just by happenstance, oops, I got this now. I'm actually set up now where I don't even realize the taxes are coming out, payroll taxes or state taxes or this fund or that fund. I don't even know what's coming out anymore because it's just a routine. And that's important, is plan yourself big so that you could grow into it.
Playing yourself big. I love it. What do you think the secret to your success is?
Again, is just always being there when an opportunity presents itself. Definitely.
Okay. What are your thoughts on, and you kind of touched on this, but what are your thoughts on work ethic?
Work ethic is not a lot of these days. Again, we actually spoke about, guys, the difference between a person that shows up to make money and a person that shows up to do good work. There's definitely a difference. Well, I want that guy that wants to do hard work, even if he doesn't know what he's doing just yet. I know I can, with his work ethic, showing up 15 minutes before the start of the day, taking responsibility when something didn't go the way it's supposed to go, letting me know, not letting it be a surprise to me. Ownership, taking ownership, definitely a big thing. Time, in our business, everything is timed. In construction, everything is timed. You bid everything off of how long is it going to take me to get this done. Well, that time isn't real if you're not always timing your crew to be able to give out real-time numbers. So a person that actually pays attention to that, I love them. Mm-hmm. I love them for people that actually go in and treat it like their own, like this is your own personal job for you. You know what I mean? Those are people that I actually hold on to too. So I think a little bit of combination of all of that for me is good work ethic. I mean, shoot, I'm gonna be the best street sweeper. I think Martin Luther King said that in his speech. He said, if you're gonna sweep streets, be the best street sweeper you could be. Sweep them streets like they're gold, you know, and just do that. So
I just read a book. Oh God, what the hell's the name? You guys know who David Goggins is?
I've heard the name.
No.
I've heard the name.
David Goggins, he's this crazy like ultra athlete Navy SEAL dude, but
Yes.
and he he grew up hard, man. Came from a rough background, and got in the Navy, became a SEAL. Just faced a lot of adversity anyway. And one of the things he talked about was just like anytime he was gonna do something, he was, I'm just gonna be the best dude I can at that thing, no matter at any cost. And it's just same thing. Like
Absolutely.
just if you're like you said, if you're gonna be the street sweeper, might as well be the best,
Be the
man.
best. Be the best.
Any advice for any young folks out there considering, entering the trades? What would you say to them?
Young people,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a great idea. Look it, people are always looking for somebody that they could pay less money to, right? So if I'm young, coming out of high school, even in high school, and I'm looking for work, and I've done it, is I learned on this guy's dime. Go get that job. If they want to pay you a little bit, if you want to be a carpenter and the carpenter wants to only give you $13 an hour to be a carpenter for him, well, do it for a year, do it for 2. But everything that you're learning on top of that is way more than that $13. So, go that route, I think. Trade school is another thing that's important. I know you had a guest on here not too long ago, and she was with BOCES. That's important. That actually is a good tool. It's a tool actually now. I think that that society, U.S. society in the whole, is starting to see that colleges isn't always the way to go for everybody. There's actually people that never want to go to college, period, but they want to, think about it. You're working for a big company, construction company. Well, the chances are the owners of that company never went to college, but the engineers, the estimators, the project managers, they all went to college. The king doesn't always have to know everything. He doesn't always but just have the people in your circle that know what they're doing. So college isn't always for everybody.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, that's it, man. We really appreciate you coming in and coming on and sharing your stuff with us. And I thought that was great. A lot of great information, man. So
No problem, man.
appreciate it.
If people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
Oh yeah.
colorcodepainting@gmail.com. That's it.
Website?
The website yet?
I got websites. I don't even look at them anymore. I don't. colorcodepainting@gmail.com.
All right.
That's it.
Send you a note.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Bryan.
All right.
Thanks again.